So I get asked a lot of questions about living in a vehicle full time, like, do I get lonely and how much money do I make and why don't I have a van versus a car and how do I find places to sleep and how do I deal with showers and all sorts of stuff. So today I thought I would take a nice relaxing day at camp and answer some of your questions. So one of the first questions I get asked the most is, you're 6 feet tall, how do you sleep in a little car like this? And I do manage. I do have to push the front seat up a little bit to fit in there, but I do fit. So I'll go ahead and show you my bed now. So for starters, for a mattress, I use something called the Deep Sleep. This is the name of the company. I think it's deepsleepoverland.com. I'll put a link in the description for you and on screen. And this company makes all sorts of different mattresses for all sorts of makes and models. This is a Subaru Forester 2020 model, but they do make it for the Outback and they make it for other models of Subarus. They make it for Jeeps, they make it for Fords, they make it for Toyotas. So all sorts of stuff. I did an entire video once just about my mattress, so I won't go into great length. I'll put a link here for the mattress video I did if you want to know more about this mattress. But I actually sleep in this very, very comfortably with the passenger seat up a little bit. Other than that, I have a 10-degree sleeping bag by Sea to Summit. That has also kept me incredibly warm, actually too warm sometimes as the summer months are approaching. Then I just have a sheet that I actually sleep in it as well. On warmer nights, I keep the windows down in the car and I put these mosquito nettings up, and that has also helped a lot, just keeping bugs out, but keeping the nice flow of wind going through the car. I do the same up here up front, the window is down halfway, and then the bug screen is up. I'm in some pretty remote area right now, just outside of Las Vegas, so I have no worry about anybody bothering me. So that probably leads into, how did I find this space to sleep at? Well, I found this on an app called iOverlander. And iOverlander, there's a free version and there's a paid version. The free version will give you everything you need. Basically, iOverlander is a community-based app, meaning that if I find a place like this to sleep at, I go into the app and pin it, and I can give a full description of what this place is like, how the conditions were to get here, the road coming in, and even what the cell phone coverage is like. You can even upload photos. Now the free version gives you all that, but the paid version gives you the offline version. So if you're in a remote area like this and there's no cell phone coverage, you can still find places to sleep. iOverlander is more than finding places to sleep though. It's finding water, it's finding laundry, it's finding propane refills, it's finding Wi-Fi, basically anything you're gonna kind of need to survive. So I should probably give you a little introduction of who I am and how I got started into nomad living. My name is Eric and I'm 48 years old, and I've been nomad living for 2 years on and off now. Basically how I got started was, I always thought it'd be cool to do a 1-year journey around the country. I'm from Florida and I thought that'd be a great starting point to go from Florida to California to Washington to Maine and back to Florida for an entire year. Get an opportunity to see the country, the parts that I've never seen before, and I just really love travel. So I did that. I actually took this car, pulling a little teardrop trailer for a year around the country, and I thought 1 year would be it. But I gotta be honest with you, about 3 months into that 1-year journey, I was hooked. And after just 3 months, I decided 1 year is not gonna be enough. So I completed that 1-year journey. I went back to Florida, sold everything I had, and I became a full-time nomad for a couple years. So I guess the obvious question most people are asking right now is, why do you do this in a car? Why not a van? Why not an RV? Why not something bigger, right? Well, it's pretty simple. This is just what I have. I bought this car as a daily driver just to get to and from work. I always thought it'd be cool to travel full time, but I never really knew for sure I was gonna do it. So when I bought this car, I was really buying it just on the means that I could take this to and from work. I wanted something with good gas mileage, and I needed something a little bit smaller at the time. When I decided to go ahead and pull the plunge, this car was paid off. So I didn't have the money to go and buy a van. If I bought a used van, then I would have to do a lot of work to it. I have to build it out and do a lot of things that this car just wouldn't have. Like I'd lose a lot of the tech that this has, and I'd lose a lot of the gas mileage that this thing has. So yeah, I'd prefer to have something bigger one day, hopefully, eventually. But in the meantime, this car is paid off, it's mine, and it's actually pretty nimble. And I'm gonna be real honest with you, all rigs have their pros and cons. Like the car, its pro is it's super nimble. I have to go into cities a lot for work, which means I have to sometimes stay over in a city. I have to do what's called stealth camping. That means you stay in a parking lot or you stay on the side of a street somewhere. With a car, I'm a lot more inconspicuous than say a big van or an RV or anything. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, the car gets good gas mileage. I can get down a lot of these dirt roads that are kind of narrow and windy a lot easier than some of these big rigs can. So the car does have its advantages. Eventually I would like something I can stand up in and put my pants on a lot easier, but you know, I'll take what I can get. All right, so I just said something about going into cities sometimes for work. So that leads to the question of, what do I do for work? How do I make money doing this? Well, I'm a video editor. I do freelance video editing, but I also work for a small company doing video editing. I have my YouTube channel, obviously, and it brings me in gas money, but literally nothing more than that. All that falls under the umbrella of digital nomad. That means I need Wi-Fi to work. So I wish I could stay in a place like this all day long and all night, but unfortunately, I have to go into cities to work a lot because that's where I get Wi-Fi. And yes, I know that I can get something like Starlink, but Starlink's very, very expensive. It's about $500 or $600 for the hardware, and then it's about $170 per month. And unfortunately, my budget just doesn't cover that right now. So for now, how I find Wi-Fi is just through public Wi-Fi, mostly at the library. That's my number one go-to. Libraries are in every single city you go to, no matter how big or how small, and they all have Wi-Fi. They're all free, and sometimes they have good hours at the library, and sometimes they don't. I've been to libraries that are open only 3 or 4 days a week. Some of them don't open till 1 in the afternoon. Some of them open more like 8 or 9 in the morning. Oh, and occasionally I do door dashing from time to time to make a couple extra bucks. I actually haven't done that in a little while, but it is something to keep in my back pocket when I need a couple extra dollars. All right, now for some personal questions like safety and loneliness. And honestly, I don't have a problem with either. I like traveling alone. I like going at my own pace. I like being able to see the world the way I want to see it. If I want a day at camp where I do nothing, then I get that opportunity. If I want a day where I get up super early and just go out and see as much stuff as I want to see, I have that opportunity. So I've always liked to travel by myself. I've done several trips out of the country by myself, like Iceland. I've been to Dominican Republic, and I've been to Costa Rica all by myself. I've also done lots of trips just in the United States, like DC and Las Vegas. So I did a lot of traveling by myself before I went into nomad travel by myself. So I personally don't have an issue with it. Also, one of the nice things about traveling full time is that I get a chance to get into parts of the country that I know people from my past. So for example, when I lived in Tennessee, I had some friends from then that moved out west. Now they live in California and in Arizona. So I got a chance to meet up with both of them when I was in those areas. When I was in Maine, I got to meet up with a friend there. When I was in Wisconsin, got to meet up with a friend there. When I was in Denver, when I was in Phoenix, when I was in Tucson, when I was in the LA area, when I get up to San Jose, I'll see a friend there. So I have lots of opportunities to see friends when I need to, which means if I ever do get lonely, well, I just reconnect with one of my friends in that area and stop in and say hi. Safety is obviously another question that popped up a lot. Now, I personally have never been in a situation where I don't feel safe. If I get to an area where I don't feel safe, then I just don't sleep there. If I've gotten to a grocery store or a place to wash my car, or even going into a bank that I just don't feel safe, I just don't go in those areas. The one thing about nomad travel is that you're in new places all the time, so you constantly have to feel things out by your gut. So just go with the feeling and go with what you feel best with. When it comes to BLM camping like this, which BLM stands for Bureau of Land Management, it's public land, so you can stay on it up to 14 days. When it comes to sleeping in places like this, you may not see it on camera, but probably about 200 yards up the street here, there's actually a couple campers. So there's always someone usually in my area that I can get to if I ever had car problems or if there was a medical emergency for any reason. Plus, I personally never sleep in a place unless I have cell phone coverage. That's just something I prefer to do. At least one bar of coverage. And then what I usually do is I pull up a streaming service like Hulu or something just to see if the internet will work good enough that I can reach out to somebody. Because it does no good if you have one bar of service and it doesn't connect. Plus, family and friends know where I am at all times through the Find My app on my iPhone, and I communicate to my parents every single night just to let them know where I'm sleeping. As far as protection against people or animals, now, I've never had a threat from anything. Probably the biggest threat I've ever had is from mice getting in my engine, and that sucks because they can chew through wires. So at like 11, 12 o'clock at night, I've literally had to get up and leave a spot like this and find another spot in the dark. That wasn't a lot of fun, but there was no real threat from any of them. Humans, same thing. I've never had a threat from humans of any kind, but I do have several ways of protecting myself in the car. I have multiple things of bear spray and mace in the car, always at arm's length. While I'm cooking, while I'm sleeping, while I'm driving, it doesn't matter. I can get to something to protect myself. Plus, I don't want to ever have to use it, but I do have a serrated machete that if need to, I can get to it very quickly anywhere in this car and use it if I had to. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how long do I go between refills of things like water and food? It's a little hard for me to answer that question, quite honestly, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm in and out of cities a lot for work. So every time I go into a city, I just pick up supplies as I need them. Like for example, water. I have this water container. It's a personal water container, obviously, and I have a 1-gallon jug in the car. Now, when I go into a place like a Planet Fitness for showers, and yes, that's how I usually shower, then I'll just take this and that 1-gallon jug into the Planet Fitness, and I'll fill up my water at their water station. Same thing when I go into a library to work, I'll take those water containers into the library and just refill at the water fountain at the library. Food is a little different. Now I actually have a fridge in my car. It's a dual zone fridge, meaning it can be a freezer or a fridge. I use it only as a fridge most of the time. I usually have about 3 days worth of food in there at all times, but I could go longer if I need to. It's just that I usually don't have to because, like I mentioned, I'm in and out of cities so much. But if I really had to pick, I don't even think I'd pick a place in the United States. I think I'd probably pick the Canadian Rockies. Banff, Jasper, Yoho, they have their own Glacier National Park, Waterton Lakes. They're all incredibly stunning. And I've never talked to a single other person who's ever been there and not said the same exact thing. It's one of those places you're literally gonna pull over every 5 minutes when you get there and say to yourself, this is the most beautiful place on earth. And then you're gonna drive another 5 minutes down the street, you're gonna get out of the car and you're gonna say the exact same thing. This is the most beautiful place on earth. Another 5 minutes down the road, get out of the car. This is the most beautiful place on earth. Every place is stunning, from the teal glacial waters to the amount of waterfalls that are there, to the wildlife, the mountains. It's breathtaking. Seriously, go to the Canadian Rockies sometime. You won't just be disappointed. Always pack your trash out. I put everything in a Ziploc bag. That way I can stay in the car and not smell up the car. Oh, so hot. So sometimes people ask me, do I have a home base? Well, yes and no. I do have a small storage unit back in Florida. It's literally just a 3-foot by 5-foot storage unit with some sentimental items I didn't want to part with, and a few things I just couldn't take on the road with me, like suits and things. And aside from some family and friends also back in Florida, I don't really have a reason to go back there. I'm currently out west, and this is where I'm just happiest. There's so much more public land out here and things to sleep on than there is out east, and I just really prefer the amount of activities and things there are to see out here. Actually, when I was talking about safety earlier, I feel way more comfortable and way more safe here than I ever have in any city. Obviously, a city is full of people, and that means there's a lot more crime. There's no crime happening out here because there's no people. The closest person is 200 yards away, and they're doing the same exact thing I'm doing. They're basically just out here camping. When you're in a city, you have people who want to do dangerous things to you. There's obviously a lot more traffic, so they're a lot more prone to get into an auto accident. There's a ton more things that can happen to you. Out here, I just feel safe and I honestly just feel at home. If I'm answering the question, do I have a home base? I really don't. I'm probably gonna end up doing this for a few years. And if you're wondering what kind of power consumption I have to run my fridge and other electronics, I do have an Anker portable power station. This is the same thing as a Jackery. This has 1800 watts full of power. And the great thing about these devices is it's literally everything all in one. It's a battery, it's a charge controller, and it's an inverter all in one. You can plug up normal household items that are just AC things. You can plug up things that are 12 volt here. You can plug up USB things like USB-C and USB-A. So I charge literally everything off of this thing. I charge my laptop, I charge my cell phone, I charge my fridge. Literally my entire life gets run off that. The Anker does have to be recharged, and I usually take it into a building with me and recharge it that way. It's the fastest. I will take it into the library with me when I need to work. I will take it into the gym when I need to shower and just plug it on the wall. And in literally less than an hour, I've got a full charge on it. But if I'm boondocking in nice, quiet places like this and I've got lots of sun, then I'll use my solar. This is a 110 watt solar panel by EcoFlow. It's the same company that makes my fridge. I wish I had a bigger solar panel than this. This is only 110 watts. I wish I had a 300 watt, but it does work when I need to. Oh man, am I glad I'm not parked over there. That is a lot of dust. It is really windy out there. So that actually comes up to my next question is, what's the hardest part about traveling? And that definitely is, well, kind of two things. The weather, obviously, being in that I'm in a much smaller space. I can't cook inside. I have to do everything outside. So when it's raining, snowing, or really just super windy like today, everything's a challenge. When it's windy, the flames on my burner dance around so much that it makes it harder to cook. It wasn't windy at all when I got here last night, but luckily I parked into the wind, so it wasn't that bad today. Trash gets blown around, anything that's lightweight gets blown around. My pots and pans have fallen over on the ground before after cleaning them. My camera fell over twice today just while filming. Obviously, rain, snow, just being super cold temperatures also are a challenge. But actually, probably the biggest challenge for me is that I still have to work. And as I mentioned earlier, I have to go find internet to work. So I have to go into a city. So I have to leave beautiful places like this, which is where I prefer to be all the time. One of these days, I really hope I can afford Starlink and be in these beautiful places longer and only have to go into town to, say, get supplies or something. And then finally, it's not so much of a question that I get asked a lot. It's just more of a statement. I seem to get kind of two people that kind of watch my lifestyle and then they have certain questions about it. There's either the camp of people that are interested in nomad living and they have all the questions that I hopefully answered in this video, like how do you make money and how do you find places to sleep and do you feel safe and do you feel lonely and all that good stuff. And then there's those people who probably ask all the same questions, but they have no desire to do nomad living. This is the thing I tell anybody who's looking to do nomad living. Try it out first. It's real easy to say you're going to like this lifestyle, and then you jump 2 feet into it, and a week or two later, you hate it. And at that point, you've sold everything, you no longer have a house or an apartment you can go back to, and you're literally living in a car, and you might hate it. So I tell everybody the same thing. Take 2 weeks if you can, a month if you can, even longer if you can do that, and travel for that amount of time in your vehicle and go into a place that you've never been before. Test it out. Do a month if you can, living out of a vehicle in another part of the country that you've never been to. Learn what it's really like to have to look for water every day or a place to sleep every day or having that sense of security and safety. Or do you like traveling alone? Do you want to travel with a partner? Everyone's different, but that's my suggestion. Always give it a trial run first because you just really never know if you're going to love it or hate it. And I actually took my own advice. I did this for 30 days before I jumped into it. I traveled from Florida to Utah. I spent exactly a month traveling around to all the national parks, and I lived out of my vehicle, and I learned what would it really be like to be a nomad, at least for a month. And literally just halfway into that, 2 weeks in, I absolutely fell in love with it. So I knew that I could go longer than a month. Now, a year's a really long time, so maybe try 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. See how you like that first. It's not a bad idea to have a home base. having that security, having that place you can go back to, go back home, refuel, re-engage, reconnect. All right, I'm just gonna end the video here. I do have to head into town. I have to swing by the library to do some work for a client. I have to do some edits for them and upload that. And I really need to charge my battery. I didn't put my solar out fast enough this morning, so it really only got a few hours of solar charge. So I'm gonna take it into town, do that. Plus there's a Planet Fitness I can shower. Thank you for escaping normal life with me.